It's strange how love can appear when life feels like nothing but routine. I was 34, recently divorced, and raising a 5-year-old girl who still asked why Daddy didn't live with us anymore. My days were filled with school drop-offs, grocery lists, and the quiet ache of loneliness that crept in once the house went silent at night. I never imagined that the person who would change everything would walk through my front door as an employee. Her name was Clara, a quiet, graceful 26-year-old woman with soft curls, warm eyes, and a kindness that felt genuine in a world where everyone seemed to wear masks. I hired her because I needed help. But as the days passed, I realized she brought something I hadn't felt in years: light, laughter, and the comfort of being seen. She wasn't just good with my daughter. She was good for both of us. I told myself it was nothing, that I was just grateful, maybe too grateful, for her presence. But one night changed everything. It was late, the kind of quiet where even the house seems to breathe slower. I couldn't sleep, lost in the swirl of my own thoughts, when I heard soft footsteps in the hallway. The door creaked open, and there she was, standing in the faint glow of the nightlight, wearing a deep red dress that clung to her gently. Like it had been waiting for this moment, she looked startled to find me awake. I remember how she froze for a second, her lips parting like she wanted to apologize, but didn't. The air between us shifted. I should have said something, anything, but I couldn't. I just watched as the light traced her silhouette, and for the first time in a long time, I felt my heart race for someone. That night, something unspoken began between us. A current neither of us named, but both felt. Before I tell you what happened next, how the boundaries between us blurred, how the guilt and desire tangled inside me, I want you to do one thing: hit subscribe. Because this story isn't about an affair or a forbidden spark. It's about love appearing when you least expect it, and the terrifying, beautiful choice to follow it. Stay until the end, because what happened in that house, under the quiet hum of night and the red glow of that dress, changed both of our lives forever. I never planned on hiring a nanny, let alone falling for one. After the divorce, my life in Portland felt like a maze of obligations and echoing rooms. I worked remotely for a healthcare nonprofit, took my daughter Lily to kindergarten. I cooked dinners that went cold while she negotiated one more cartoon, and then lay awake every night, listening to the refrigerator hum like a lonely metronome. When I interviewed Clara, I told myself I was choosing stability. She had the kind of calm that makes a child feel safe. Soft curls, steady voice, a way of lowering to Lily's eye level that said, "I see you." It disarmed me, and I didn't know why that mattered so much until later. The night of the red dress didn't start dramatically. It was a Thursday, rain ticking against the windows, Lily asleep with her favorite stuffed raccoon tucked under one arm. I was scrolling through emails in bed, pretending to be productive while staring at subject lines I didn't want to open. My phone battery hit 3%, and I reached for the charger at the same time the hallway floor creaked. I thought it was Lily creeping in for water or to report a scary dream. The door inched open, and a rectangle of soft hallway light spilled across the rug. Clara stepped in, not with the tidy jeans and cotton sweaters she wore during the day, but in a dress the color of a ripe cherry. It hugged her with a quiet, fearless elegance, nothing flashy, nothing loud. She froze when she saw me awake, hand halfway to the light switch. For a second, neither of us moved. I took in the details I'd never noticed at work. The faint constellation of freckles near her collarbone, the way the dress framed the strength in her shoulders, the glimmer of a simple gold hoop in her left ear. I thought you were asleep," she said softly, keeping her tone low in case Lily stirred. "I couldn't," I admitted, pushing myself upright. "Long day. You look—" I searched for a word that didn't sound like a confession. "Different." She laughed under her breath, a quiet sound that warmed the room. My friend Nina dragged me out to her gallery opening. I tried to slip back in without waking anyone. She lifted the hem of the dress an inch, like proof. "Not exactly nanny attire." "Not exactly," I said, and felt the strange gravity between us, new, fragile. Undeniable. She hovered in the doorway a beat longer, then stepped inside and leaned against the bookshelf like she had permission to be part of my night. "How's the insomnia?" "Persistent," I said. "It's gotten good at its job. I can make tea," she offered. "Chamomile with honey. Works on Lily," I smiled. "Lily falls asleep just hearing you say the word tea, and you need the real thing." Her eyes flicked to my laptop. "Or a boundary from those emails." I meant to say goodnight, to let her go, so I could return to the people who wanted answers from me at all hours. Instead, I heard myself say, "Tell me about the opening." Clara's expression shifted, something open, unguarded. It was crowded and loud. "Nina's art is all cityscapes painted from memory. She's leaving Oregon next month, New York. She studied me as if checking whether it was okay to go on. It made me think about staying versus going. How we convince ourselves that stillness equals safety. That's familiar," I said. "I've been in still for a while." She drew closer, just enough that I could see the faint sheen of rain on her shoulders. Drops glittered on her curls like tiny glass beads. "You've been in survival," she said in a low tone. "There's a difference." I didn't know whether to feel seen or exposed. "Do you always do that?" I asked. "Name the thing people spend months avoiding?" "Only when the person looks like they need a witness," she said, a hint of playfulness at the edges. Down the hall, the HVAC kicked on. The house exhaled. I gestured to the armchair by the window. "Want to sit for a minute?" The word surprised me. I was the queen of boundaries after the divorce. No mixed signals, no late-night confessions. But the rain, the dress, the honest slice of conversation, something nudged the door in my chest. She hesitated, eyes flicking to the hallway toward Lily's room, then back to me. "Just a minute," she said, and tucked the dress beneath her as she sat. Up close, the red wasn't loud at all. It was warm, like the last light before sundown. I asked about her family. She told me she grew up in Eugene, oldest of 3, good at making schedules and reading emotions. "It's why I like working with kids," she said. "They say it all without the words." I asked about art, and she admitted she used to paint, badly, in her opinion, before bills and responsibilities made the world smaller. "And you?" she asked. "What did you want before all this?" The answer surprised me. I wanted to write. Nothing grand, just essays. Letters to people I haven't met yet. I pressed my palm to the comforter, steadying myself. Then life shifted. I became excellent at spreadsheets. She smiled with a kind of quiet pride. "You can still write, you know." "Maybe," I said. "It's easier to put other people first." Clara's gaze held mine longer than it should have. "Sometimes that's love. Sometimes it's hiding the room stilled. Not a threat, not a challenge, an invitation to tell the truth." I looked away, heat rising in my face. "After the divorce, I decided not to want much. Keeps the edges smooth," my voice softened. "Then you walked in here in that dress and my edges noticed." Her breath hitched, a tiny sound like surprise widening into something else. She didn't rush to fill the quiet. She let it be, and somehow that was braver than any speech. Outside, rain brushed the window in angled lines. A car hissed by on wet pavement, tire noise fading like a held breath released. Clara stood, smoothing the dress. One of those small, nervous gestures that people make when meaning is heavy in the air. "I should check on Lily and let you get some sleep," she said, but her body didn't move toward the door. That pause was a universe. "Clara," I said, her name more confession than address. She glanced up. The gold hoop caught the lamplight. "Yeah? I don't know what this is," I said, the caution and longing braided together. "I just know that when you walked in, the room felt different, like I'd been listening to static for months and suddenly heard a note." Her eyes softened, the kind of soft that feels like a hand at your back. Steadying. "I felt it too," she said, barely above a hush, not fragile, careful. "But I work for you. And you trust me with Lily." She inhaled, held it. "Lines matter." "I know," I said, and the truth of that sat between us like a small, necessary stone. "I don't want to blur anything that makes Lily feel safe." "She is safe," Clara said quickly, conviction brightening her voice. "With both of us. That's why I'm saying this out loud. So nothing sneaks up on us and turns into something messy. Something like relief moved through me, tangled with disappointment and something bolder. Then we name it and we're careful, she nodded. We can be careful. For a second I thought that was the end, that the rain would keep falling and we would both return to our rooms with the honesty tucked neatly away. Then the power flickered. The lamp blinked twice and went out. The house hummed to a stop. Darkness thinned the space between us until I could hear her breathe. Great, I said into the dark, trying to laugh. The breaker hates storms. From the hallway, Lily called, small and sleepy, "Mom!" Clara and I moved at the same time, nearly colliding in the doorframe. Her hand found my forearm to steady me, warm and steady and very real. In that instant, a flash of lightning lit the hallway, carving our shadows long and close on the wall. The moment the light died, we were back in the velvet dark, her hand still on my skin. "I've got her," Clara said, voice low and certain. "Meet us in her room." I swallowed. Yes. She slipped down the hall, red fabric a secret ember moving through the dark. I followed, guided by the familiar squeak of Lily's door. When I reached the threshold, Lily was sitting up, eyes wide, hair a messy halo. "Lights went away," she said. "They'll be back," Clara assured her, perched on the edge of the bed. She looked up at me, our eyes finding each other over Lily's head. Even in the dark, it felt like a decision hovered there, something we hadn't yet made but would have to soon. The wind pressed against the house like an insistent question, and for the first time since the divorce, I realized my answer might not be no. The morning after that storm felt unreal, like the house had exhaled all its secrets overnight. The smell of wet pine drifted through the open kitchen window, mixing with the scent of coffee. Clara was already there, wearing one of my old hoodies and leggings, her hair still damp from the shower. She looked different in the daylight, softer, less mysterious, but no less magnetic. "Morning," she said, her voice carrying that calm tone that always made me feel seen. "Morning," I replied, pretending to check my phone. I still hadn't deleted the message from the unknown number. "You don't know me, but I saw your nanny tonight. We should talk." The words felt like a stone in my pocket, heavy and impossible to ignore. Clara caught my hesitation. "Everything okay?" "Yeah, just spam," I lied, setting the phone face down on the counter. She poured coffee into a mug and slid it toward me. "You look like you didn't sleep." "I didn't," I admitted. Too much on my mind. Her lips curved into a knowing smile. The storm kept me awake too. The way she said it made me pause, not because of the words themselves, but because of what sat beneath them. The tension that had sparked between us last night hadn't vanished. It had only gone quiet, waiting for the right moment to return. Lily ran into the kitchen then, breaking the spell, clutching her raccoon plush. "The lights are back," she squealed. Clara bent down to hug her, her laughter light and unguarded. Watching them together filled me with warmth and confusion. Clara was becoming more than a nanny. She was becoming a presence I depended on, one that complicated everything I thought I'd already sorted in my life. When Lily ran off to get dressed, Clara leaned against the counter. "You were going to say something last night." Before the lights went out, I hesitated. "I don't even know what I was going to say." She tilted her head slightly. "You were going to say how you felt." The honesty in her tone disarmed me. I looked at her, really looked at her, and felt that familiar ache in my chest, the one that warned me I was standing too close to the edge. "I shouldn't," I said finally. "It's not fair to you." Or to Lily. Clara's eyes softened. "I can handle honesty. What I can't handle is pretending." Her words lingered long after she left to take Lily to school. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my phone, the message flashing again in my mind. We should talk. By noon, curiosity had won. I dialed the number. A woman's voice answered on the second ring, low, cautious, unfamiliar. "Is this Emma?" "Yes, who is this?" "My name's Nina," she said after a pause. "I'm Clara's roommate, or—" I was. Something about her tone made my stomach twist. "What do you mean, was?" "I just thought you should know what kind of person you have in your house," she said. "Clara's not who you think she is. She left Eugene because she was fired from her last job. Something about boundaries with the family she worked for." My heart pounded. Boundaries. Ask her, Nina said quietly. But be careful. She's good at making people trust her. Then she hung up. For a moment I just sat there, the phone cold in my hand. Part of me wanted to call Clara immediately, demand the truth, tear the bandage off. But another part, the one that remembered how Lily adored her, how safe our home had felt again, couldn't bear to destroy it. That night, Clara returned from picking Lily up, her laughter filling the kitchen as they unpacked a bag of art supplies. "We stopped by the craft store," she said, smiling. "Someone's got a new obsession with glitter glue," Lily giggled. "Clara said we can make cards." I forced a smile. That sounds fun, but my eyes lingered on Clara's hands, steady, confident, gentle. The same hands that had comforted Lily through nightmares, the same hands that had touched my arm in the dark and made the world tilt. Could those hands really belong to someone dangerous? Later that evening, after Lily was asleep, I found Clara in the living room sorting crayons. The light from the lamp brushed against her face, turning her curls to gold. "I talked to someone today," I began carefully. "Nina," she froze, her shoulders tightening. "What did she say?" "That you left Eugene because of a family you worked for." She looked down at her hands, silent for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was steady but fragile around the edges. "It's true I was let go, but not for the reason she told you." "Then tell me." Clara took a deep breath. "The mother, she was lonely. Her husband was gone for months at a time. We got close, too close. Nothing happened, but people talk. She confessed feelings she wasn't ready to face, and when her husband found out, I was blamed. It was easier for them to fire me than admit what was really happening." The words hit me hard, not because I doubted her, but because I understood too well. I had been that woman once, lonely, needing connection, mistaking kindness for something else. I sat across from her, trying to steady my thoughts. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I didn't want you to see me as a problem to manage," she said. "I needed a clean start, and you gave me that." I believed her. Against every rational thought I did. But belief didn't erase the fear curling inside me. The line between comfort and chaos had always been thin in my life, and now it was nearly invisible. "I want to trust you," I said softly. She looked up, her eyes full of quiet resolve. "Then do." The way she said it wasn't a plea, it was a promise. A fragile one maybe, but real. We sat there in silence for a while, the space between us humming with everything we hadn't said. Then she stood, gathering the crayons into the box. "Good night." "Emma," she said gently. "Good night," I replied. But my voice came out as little more than breath when she disappeared down the hall. I exhaled shakily and looked at the window. The reflection staring back at me wasn't the calm, controlled woman I'd been trying to be. It was someone on the edge of something she couldn't name. And deep down, I already knew whatever came next would change everything. The message haunted me for hours before I could even bring myself to breathe normally again. "You're making the same mistake she did." I stared at it, heart pounding so loudly I swore Clara could hear it from her room. Every letter seemed to burn through my screen. What mistake? What did Nina mean? And why did I feel like the ground beneath my feet had just tilted? The next morning, I decided not to tell Clara about the new message. Not yet. I needed answers first. I needed to know what kind of truth I was standing in before I tore apart the fragile peace in my home. Lily woke up early, all smiles, her little voice echoing down the hallway as she called for Clara. And like every morning, Clara appeared in her quiet, graceful way, hair tied up, soft sweatshirt on, holding a tray of toast with strawberry jam. Watching her like that, I almost convinced myself everything was fine. Maybe Nina was just bitter, jealous, or trying to start trouble, but part of me couldn't let go of the unease. It coiled in my chest like a warning I couldn't translate. That afternoon, while Clara and Lily played outside painting stones in the garden, I did something I swore I wouldn't do. I searched her name online. I told myself it was about safety, but if I was honest, it was fear. It didn't take long. An old article popped up from a small Eugene local paper. "Nanny's sudden dismissal raises questions." The piece was short, vague, Something about emotional boundaries and an unprofessional attachment. No names beyond Clara's. Still, seeing it printed made the rumor feel more real. By the time Clara came back inside, my stomach was in knots. She noticed immediately. "You're quiet," she said, setting the paintbrushes in the sink. "Just tired," I answered. She didn't believe me. I could see it in the way her brows knit together, that subtle shift of concern she always had when something was off. "You're not tired," she said softly. "You're worried." I wanted to deny it, but when her hand brushed my arm, I froze. The same spark that had been building between us for days, maybe weeks, flickered again. And I hated that even through the fear, I felt drawn to her. "Clara," I said, turning toward her, "why didn't you ever tell me your side of what happened in Eugene? Before Nina called?" Her lips parted. "Because I didn't think you'd want to know. Because I didn't want you to see me through someone else's mistake." "I saw the article," I said quietly. "It doesn't look good." Her expression tightened. Not anger, not shame, something deeper. "You think I don't know that? They made me sound like I was a thief or a liar, when all I did was care too much." "Care too much?" "Yes," she said, voice trembling now. "The woman I worked for, she was depressed. Her husband was cheating, her family was crumbling. I helped with her kids, but she needed someone to see her, to talk to her, to make her believe she mattered. I tried to be that person, and when she mistook my kindness for something else, I didn't push her away soon enough. I didn't want to embarrass her. I thought I was protecting her." Her voice cracked on the last word. For a moment I couldn't speak. I had seen that exact ache before, and then myself. The loneliness that makes you reach for whoever listens, whoever stays. "I believe you," I said finally, surprising both of us. "But you have to understand why I'm scared. You're here in my home. My daughter adores you. And You what?" she asked. The words nearly escaped before I caught them. "I want you." That was the truth clawing inside me. But saying it would have set fire to everything. "Nothing," I said instead. "I just don't want to repeat anyone's mistakes." She took a small step closer, her eyes searching mine. "What if it's not a mistake?" My heart stumbled. Clara, she didn't touch me, not yet, but the air between us felt charged enough to hum. Her voice dropped to something almost like a confession. "I've been careful, Emma, every day, because I know what people say about women like me, about women who care too deeply, who don't fit into neat boxes. But you're the first person who's made me feel safe in years." Something inside me broke open at those words. I reached up, not meaning to, not planning to, and brushed a strand of hair from her cheek. She didn't move away. Her breath hitched, her lips parting just slightly. I could feel the pull, the dangerous, beautiful pull that I'd been fighting since the night she appeared in that red dress. And then Lily's laughter echoed down the hallway. We both froze. The sound shattered the moment like glass. Clara took a step back, her hand rising to her chest as if to steady her pulse. "I should start dinner," she said, barely meeting my eyes. I nodded, unable to trust my voice. The rest of the evening passed in fragments. Lily's chatter, the smell of roasted vegetables, the clinking of silverware. But beneath it all ran a current neither of us could name. When Clara reached across the table to hand me the salt, our fingers brushed. And that was all it took to remind me that something irreversible had begun. After dinner, I tucked Lily into bed while Clara cleaned the kitchen. By the time I returned, she was gone, her door closed, light off. I stood there for a long moment, staring at that thin strip of shadow under her door, wanting to knock, but too afraid of what would follow if I did. Back in my room, I checked my phone again. Another message from the same unknown number waited. "She's done this before, and she'll do it again." I didn't sleep. Every sound in the house, every creak, every sigh of wind made me tense. But as the hours passed, something shifted in me. Fear and longing tangled together until I couldn't tell one from the other. At 2:17 a.m., I heard soft footsteps in the hallway, then a gentle knock on my door. "Emma?" Clara's voice came, quiet and hesitant. I sat up, heart in my throat. "Yeah?" "I couldn't sleep," she said through the door. "Can we talk?" For a moment I didn't answer. Every sensible part of me screamed to tell her no, to keep the walls up. But then I thought of her voice earlier, the pain in it, the truth that had slipped through. I stood, walked to the door, and opened it. She was there in a grey t-shirt and loose sweatpants, her hair messy, her eyes tired but bright. "What did you want to talk about?" I asked. She hesitated, then looked right at me. "About boundaries. About honesty. About why I can't stop thinking about you." The room fell silent. Outside, rain began again, soft, steady, inevitable. I stepped back just enough for her to come in. When the door closed behind her, the air changed. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quieter than a heartbeat, but I felt it everywhere. The gravity of a moment I couldn't take back. Clara stood there, hands clasped in front of her, eyes fixed on the floor. For the first time since she'd walked into my life, she looked unsure. "I shouldn't be here," she said softly. "Then why are you?" I asked, though my voice came out gentler than I intended. She hesitated. "Because every time I tell myself to keep things simple, I end up here anyway, standing in front of you, trying to find words that don't make things worse." Her honesty was disarming. I took a slow breath, searching for something steady to hold on to. "Clara, I don't want to hurt you, or make things complicated, but we both know this is already complicated," she finished, looking up, and there it was. The truth hanging between us like the last bridge between restraint and surrender. Outside, rain whispered against the window, the kind of soft, rhythmic sound that makes people say things they shouldn't. She took a small step closer, close enough that I could smell the faint trace of lavender from her shampoo. "I keep trying to draw a line," she said, her voice low, trembling slightly. "But every time you look at me like that, I forget why it matters." I swallowed hard. "Because it does matter," I whispered. "Because this isn't just about you and me. There's Lily, there's you," she interrupted, her tone sharpening just enough to break through my self-control. "You keep protecting everyone else, but what about you? When was the last time you let yourself feel something that wasn't safe?" I wanted to argue, but the question hit too deep. I hadn't realized how starved I was for someone to see me, really see me, until now. Clara exhaled shakily, her eyes darting toward the bed and then back to me. "I'm not asking for anything," she said. I needed to be honest about what this is doing to me. "What is it doing to you?" I asked, my voice barely holding steady. She took another step forward, her gaze locking onto mine. "It's making me want something I promised myself I wouldn't want again. Something in me gave way then. Not logic, not reason, but that quiet ache I'd been carrying since the first night she walked into my room in that red dress. I didn't move closer, but I didn't move away either, and that was enough. She reached out, her fingers grazing mine, light, tentative, testing the space between caution and courage. The touch was small, but it felt seismic. My breath caught. For a second, we just stood there, suspended between choices. Then from down the hall, Lily stirred in her sleep. A soft murmur that cut through the silence like a reminder of everything we stood to lose. Clara's hand fell away instantly, guilt flashing across her face. "I should go," she whispered. "Clara, wait!" But she was already at the door. She paused, fingers on the handle, back still turned. "You think I don't know how dangerous this is? You think I haven't spent every day trying to convince myself that what I feel for you isn't real?" My heart was pounding so hard I could barely breathe. "And is it?" She turned slowly, her eyes shimmering in the dim light. "It's real enough to terrify me." The door clicked shut behind her, leaving the room heavy with everything unsaid. I sat on the edge of my bed, shaking, replaying every word, every look, but before I could lose myself completely in the storm of what had just happened, my phone buzzed again. The same number, the same chill creeping down my spine. "You need to protect your daughter. She doesn't know who that woman really is." This time I didn't hesitate. I texted back, "Who are you? What do you want?" No reply. I stared at the screen, dread clawing its way up my throat. Was someone watching us? Or was this just Nina again, twisting the knife for her own reasons? The next morning, Clara avoided me. She focused entirely on Lily, dressing her, packing her lunch, tying her shoes. Every glance that should have meant something now carried distance instead. "Are you okay?" I asked quietly as she slipped on her coat. "I'm fine," she said too quickly. "We should go. Lily's excited for her art fair." She brushed past me, and the scent of her perfume, soft vanilla and rain, lingered long after she was gone. I spent the morning pretending to work, but mostly watching the clock, waiting for them to return. When they did, Lily was bubbling with joy, chattering about her drawings, her voice filling the house with warmth that barely reached me. Clara, on the other hand, looked exhausted. When Lily ran to her room to hang her ribbons on the wall, I turned to Clara. "We can't keep pretending last night didn't happen," she sighed, rubbing her temples. "I know, but we can't let it happen again either." "I got another message," I said. Her eyes snapped up. "From who?" "I don't know, but they keep saying I don't know who you really are." Her face paled. "Emma, listen to me. Whoever that is, they're trying to scare you. They've done it before. She stopped herself, her voice catching. "They what?" I demanded. Clara's silence told me everything. "Clara, if there's something you're not telling me, you need to now. Because this isn't just about you anymore. Someone is watching us." She looked at me for a long time before speaking, her voice quiet but shaking. "When I left Eugene, it wasn't just because of the family. It was because of him. Him! The husband," she said, eyes glistening. "He found out about his wife's feelings, and he blamed me. He started following me, sending threats. I changed my number, moved away. I thought it was over." My stomach dropped. "You think he found you?" "I don't know," she said, her voice breaking. "But whoever's messaging you, it feels the same. Like someone trying to make me disappear again." I stared at her, every instinct in me at war. Part of me wanted to believe her completely, to protect her, to trust her. But another part, the mother in me, couldn't ignore the fear. "Then we need to go to the police," I said firmly. She shook her head. "No, that'll only make it worse. He's powerful. He knows how to twist stories." "Clara, please," she said, stepping closer. "Just let me handle it." I wanted to believe she could. But when I looked into her eyes, I saw something else, a shadow of someone who had already run too many times. That night, after Lily fell asleep, I sat in bed staring at the door again, waiting for another knock. But it never came. What did come instead was another message. "If you don't believe me, look in her bag." I barely slept. Every creak of the house sounded like a threat. Every flicker of light under the door made me think Clara was standing there, waiting. When the sun finally rose, its light felt sharp instead of warm, like truth cutting through the calm I'd built around myself. The message haunted me. "If you don't believe me, look in her bag." I tried to ignore it. I made breakfast, packed Lily's lunch, and smiled like nothing was wrong. But my hands shook as I poured the coffee. Clara moved quietly around the kitchen, polite but distant. She wasn't wearing makeup that morning, and her tired eyes made her look younger, almost fragile. "Are you sure you're okay?" I asked. She nodded without looking at me. "Just a headache. I'll be fine." I wanted to believe her, but my chest felt tight. I watched her set her purse on the counter, the same tan leather bag she carried everywhere. My heart thudded at the sight of it. When she left to take Lily to school, I stood in the kitchen alone, staring at that empty space where the bag had been. My conscience screamed at me not to do it, not to cross that line. But the part of me that had read every message, that had felt every flicker of doubt, was louder. By the time they came home in the afternoon, I'd already decided. I'd told myself I needed peace of mind, for Lily, for myself, for the home that suddenly didn't feel like one. When Clara went to help Lily with her homework, she left her bag by the couch. My pulse raced as I crouched beside it. My fingers hesitated at the zipper. "This is wrong," I told myself. But the fear pushed me forward anyway. I opened it. Inside were ordinary things: her wallet, her phone charger, a hairbrush. For a second I almost laughed at myself. And then I saw the envelope. It was thick, sealed, and marked with a smudge of faded ink. My name was written on it, Emma. My breath caught. I looked toward the hallway. Lily's laughter echoed faintly, followed by Clara's soft voice. I turned the envelope over, and a photograph slipped out. It was a picture of Clara and a woman, older, elegant, smiling. The woman's arm was around her shoulders. The caption scribbled on the back said, "To my dearest Clara, don't forget me." Underneath the photo was something else, a restraining order. The name printed on it made my stomach twist. Eleanor Reeves. The woman in the photo. The wife from Eugene. The order said no contact within 500 feet. Issued 6 months ago. Expired last week. I froze, staring at it, the truth unraveling faster than I could grasp it. "Emma?" Her voice behind me. I turned, the paper still in my hand. Clara stood in the doorway, pale as the wall behind her. "What are you doing?" she asked quietly. I wanted to speak, but the words tangled in my throat. I found this. I held up the papers. "What is this, Clara?" Her eyes closed, and when she opened them again, there was no anger, only exhaustion. "You weren't supposed to see that. Then maybe you should have told me," I said, trying to keep my voice from breaking. "You said she blamed you. You didn't tell me there was a restraining order. I didn't tell you because it wasn't real," she said firmly. "She filed it after her husband found out. He needed someone to blame, and she was too scared to tell him the truth. So she made me the villain. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. But the photo burned in my hand, proof of something deeper, something I didn't understand. "Clara, someone keeps messaging me," I said. "They know things about you. They told me to look in your bag." Her eyes widened. "Who? I don't know. But whoever it is, they want me to think you're dangerous." Clara stepped closer, tears brimming. "You think I would ever hurt you, or Lily?" "No," I said quickly, shaking my head. "I don't, but I need to know what's real." She sank onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. "You don't understand. When I left Eugene, I thought I was safe. I thought if I started over, if I worked hard enough, people would stop seeing me as some story they could twist. But it never ends. They always find a way to make me the monster." Her voice cracked on the last word, and for a long moment the room was silent except for the rain tapping at the windows. I sat down across from her, my heart torn between fear and compassion. "Clara, if someone's threatening you, we can go to the police together. I'll help you." She looked up at me slowly, and in her eyes I saw something I hadn't expected. Resignation. "You still don't get it. It's not about the law. It's about control. People like him. They don't stop just because a paper tells them to. Then let me protect you," I said, my voice breaking. She gave a soft, tragic smile. "You already did. You gave me a home. You gave me peace. But peace doesn't last for people like me." I reached for her hand. "Don't say that." Her fingers trembled in mine. "Emma, you have to promise me something. If this person keeps contacting you, if anything happens, don't look for me. Don't try to fix it. Just keep Lily safe." "What are you talking about?" I asked, panic rising. But she was already standing, wiping her tears. "I'll leave tonight. It's better this way. If I stay, they'll just keep coming. Clara, please." She leaned in, her voice barely a breath. "Tell Lily I'm sorry." And before I could stop her, she was gone. I ran outside, shouting her name into the rain, but the street was empty. Her car was gone, her bag missing. Only the envelope and the photograph lay on the porch, soaked and ruined by the storm. 3 days passed. No messages, no calls, no trace of her. Then on the 4th night, a letter arrived in the mail. No return address, just my name. Inside was a single line written in Clara's handwriting. "Some loves are meant to wake us, not stay with us." I sat on the porch, reading it again and again, until the words blurred. That night, after putting Lily to bed, I stood by the window watching the rain. Somewhere in another city, maybe Clara was starting over again. Another name, another story, another beginning. But deep down, I knew something she never could admit. She hadn't ruined my peace. She had shown me what it felt like to be alive again. And maybe that was the point all along. Love doesn't always arrive to last. Sometimes it comes to reveal the parts of ourselves we've buried. The courage to trust, to feel, to face our own fears. If you've ever met someone who changed you, even just for a moment, maybe they weren't meant to stay. Maybe they were meant to remind you who you are. What would you have done if you were me? Would you have trusted her? Or let her go? Tell me in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to hear more stories that explore the love, loss, and choices that define who we are.